There comes a time in life when you don't need revenge. You don't need to scream. You don't need to prove anything to anybody, because the truth is, life has a way of taking care of the people who hurt you. And sometimes the most powerful victories are the ones you don't even witness directly. You just start to feel peace while they start to feel the storm they created. You ever been betrayed so deeply it rattled your soul, lied to so cruelly it made you question your own worth? You ever given your all to someone who left you empty in return? I know what that pain feels like. I know how much it burns when you walk away with a shattered heart, wondering if they'll ever feel what they put you through. But here's what you need to understand. Karma is not a loud explosion. Karma whispers. It moves in silence. It touches people when they least expect it. And while you may not see their downfall with your own eyes, trust me, they're already feeling the weight of what they've done. Quietly, slowly, unavoidably. Let me tell you the 5 signs that someone is already receiving their karma, silently. Number 1, their life feels stuck no matter what they do. There comes a moment in every wrongdoer's journey when everything starts to look the same. Day after day, month after month, they move, but they don't go anywhere. They take steps forward, but end up in the same dark place. That's not just coincidence. That's not just life being hard. That's the consequence of the energy they sent out finally circling back home. It's like quicksand. The more they try to climb out of it, the deeper they don't understand why their efforts don't bloom, why their plans fail, why their blessings stall. But deep down, that whisper inside knows karma's not punishing them, it's teaching them. And when life starts to feel stuck, it's often because their heart has been wrong for too long. You see, when someone has caused pain with intention, when they've manipulated, betrayed, or destroyed someone else's peace, life doesn't forget. It doesn't forget energy. It just waits silently. And then one day, what once came easy becomes impossible. Doors that open with a smile now slam shut with silence. Projects collapse, opportunities vanish, and the same person who once walked with pride now limps with confusion. That's how karma starts. Quiet, slow, undeniable. It strips momentum from the ones who misused it. Now, don't get it twisted. They'll still pretend. They'll still post the pictures, wear the smile, talk the talk. But you'll notice something in the background. Exhaustion. They're tired. Not just in their body, but in their soul. Because you can fake a life, but you can't fake peace. And peace is the one thing karma snatches first. It's like running in circles while convincing the world you're heading somewhere new. But nothing changes. Their environment becomes a mirror of their choices. And when life feels stuck, it's often because their spirit is frozen in regret they won't admit. Every time they try to build something new, it falls apart. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because the foundation is wrong. You cannot plant seeds of manipulation and expect to harvest joy. You cannot water selfishness and expect growth. Life knows. The universe knows. God knows. So what happens? Progress pauses. Success becomes slippery. They chase achievement the same way they once chased control, desperate and blind. But now, everything they touch seems to decay instead of bloom. That's not failure, it's reflection. And the silence, that's the loudest part. The world might not see what's going on behind their smile, but they know. In their quiet moments, in the stillness of their nights, they hear it, that aching sense that something's off, something's missing. They'll keep moving, trying, grinding, but it's like running on a treadmill. All that effort, no destination. They feel stuck because karma has them in a holding place, not to destroy them, but to humble them. Life gives them time to face themselves, but many never do. Have you ever watched someone who once had everything slowly start to lose momentum? Not dramatically, not with a bang, but gradually, like sand slipping through fingers. That's karma at work. See, karma doesn't always come with thunder and lightning. Sometimes it comes with silence, with stillness, with a strange sense of suffocation they can't explain. They'll blame the economy, the people around them, the bad timing. But the truth? They poisoned their own path. And now they're walking through the desert they created for others. They might jump from one job to another, one relationship to another, one idea to another, thinking movement will create momentum. But nothing feels right. Nothing sticks. It's like trying to paint a masterpiece with dirty brushes. No matter how bright the colors, the strokes come out stained. That's what happens when karma shows up. It blocks the flow. It blocks the clarity. It blocks the spark. Because what they tried to steal from others, peace, stability, hope, is now the very thing they can't seem to find. And don't let them fool you with surface level wins. Just because someone bought a new car doesn't mean their soul isn't bankrupt. Just because they post pictures at fancy dinners doesn't mean they're not choking on guilt. Karma doesn't need to break the bank. It breaks the rhythm. It takes the joy out of success. And suddenly, even wins feel like losses. They keep climbing, but the view never changes. It's just another version of emptiness dressed in gold. There's a kind of stuck that has nothing to do with location. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's internal. They look alive on the outside, but inside they're stagnant, numb, unmotivated. It's the consequence of stepping on people who were sent to love them, of lying to people who were sent to heal them, of turning peace into poison. And now, no matter how hard they try, the chains remain. Not physical chains, but emotional ones wrapped around every part of their life. That's karma. Quiet. Unseen, but felt. And here's the wild part. They may not even realize what's happening because karma doesn't always explain itself. It just shows up. The very thing they ran from is the very thing they crave. And this is the first set you heard. There were so many things that pained me before, so many things that made me scared. You're reaping what you sowed. The very thing they ran from is the very thing they stuck. They thought they could escape consequences, but karma doesn't need to catch you. It just waits until you catch yourself. You might see them on the surface and think they're doing fine, but you're only seeing the highlight reel. You're not seeing the sleepless nights, the racing thoughts, the doors that won't open, the messages left on read. You're not seeing the way their spirit trembles every time they look in the mirror. Because deep down they know life is responding, not out of revenge, but balance. Life balances the scales. And when someone has tipped it for too long, karma comes in to reset the weight. Sometimes the most painful part of karma is not losing people or things. It's losing direction. When someone is stuck, they lose their why. They wake up but have no fire. They move but feel no meaning. And that emptiness, it's haunting because no material thing can fill it. No relationship can fix it. They have to face it. That's how karma corrects. It doesn't come to crush them. It comes to slow them down long enough to see the mess they made. It puts their life on pause so they can finally see the playback. And in that stillness, they feel the weight. The silence gets louder, the joy gets dimmer. They may still be surrounded by people, but feel more alone than ever. Because you can't outrun karma. You can't charm it. You can't lie to it. Karma has a memory sharper than pain. And when it's time to collect, it doesn't shout, it whispers. It surrounds, it freezes everything until the soul begins to thaw. And that thawing, it's not easy, it's not fast, but it's necessary. So when you wonder if they're getting away with what they did, let this be your peace. Stuck is a sentence. And many are already serving their time, not in chains, not in courts, but in cycles, in stuckness, in a life that feels like a loop with no exit. That's karma. It doesn't need your help. It doesn't need your anger. It just needs time. And trust me, it's always right on time. Number two, they start losing the very things they took for granted. It always begins with a whisper, not a bang. One day they wake up and something feels missing. Not something material, but something sacred. The people they once laughed with suddenly stop calling. The peace they ignored begins to slip through their fingers. The moments they rush through now haunt them like lost treasures. You see, karma doesn't always strike hard and fast. It's quiet, methodical. It begins removing the very things they once overlooked. Not to punish them, but to show them what they thought was disposable was actually divine. People forget that love is not promised, that loyalty is not owed, that presence is a gift, not a guarantee. They get so comfortable with kindness that they start expecting it. They treat those who love them most like furniture, there to support, but never truly seen. And then one day they look around and realize the room is empty, the voices are gone, the comfort is cold. They lost what they assumed would always be there. And in that emptiness, karma speaks. You don't get to disrespect blessings and still expect abundance. The friend they mocked, gone. The partner they dismissed, neglected, or betrayed, walked away. The peace they once had on a quiet night when their soul was calm and their heart felt full, now replaced with noise, inside and out. That's the first layer of karma. It doesn't take away money or status at first. It takes away connection. It removes soul ties. Because when you wound people who were sent to love you, you activate a law much higher than justice. You activate restoration. And sometimes restoration looks like removal. They don't even notice it at first. That's the sneaky thing about loss. It doesn't come screaming, it fades. The calls become less frequent. The energy shifts. People don't argue. They just stop trying. They stop explaining. They let go silently. And the one who took them for granted left confused, wondering why nothing feels the same, why no one is fighting to stay. It's because karma doesn't always show up with revenge. Sometimes it shows up as distance, as absence, as silence that screams, you had it good and you lost it. And it's not just people, it's time. They start losing time. The hours they once wasted are now heavy with regret. They start replaying memories they never valued when they lived them. A dinner they ruined with ego. A night they spoiled with pride. A moment they rushed past because they thought they had forever. And now they'd give anything to rewind. But time doesn't take bribes. Karma doesn't rewind. It just reminds. Over and over again. Until the pain becomes the teacher. When someone takes a good heart for granted, life takes away their access to love. And what replaces it? Emptiness. They may get into new relationships, but it won't feel the same. Because the energy is different. It's not pure. It's not safe. It's transactional. And deep inside, they'll compare it to what they had before. That person who loved them unconditionally, who prayed for them, stood by them, believed in them when they didn't even believe in themselves, they'll start to haunt every new connection. Because nothing feels as full as what they foolishly walked away from. Sometimes they'll even try to go back. They'll reach out, they'll test the waters, but the door is no longer open. The person they hurt has healed. They've moved on. And now that door doesn't close out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. Because once someone learns how to live without being taken for granted, they never go back to being invisible again. And that's when the weight of karma settles deep in their chest, not just for what they did, but for what they can never have again. What's worse is they often don't even realize they were losing it while it was happening because they were distracted by their ego. They thought they had time. They thought that friend would always forgive, that partner would always wait, that peace would always return. But people grow. People heal. People walk away, and when someone chooses to ignore a blessing long enough, that blessing eventually gets reassigned. And that's not cruelty, that's justice, that's karma balancing what pride has broken. Even their habits start to betray them. The joy they used to feel in the little things, gone. The laughter feels hollow, the comfort feels distant. Life becomes a routine of surviving instead of thriving. And they don't even understand why, but karma knows. Karma doesn't attack. It reveals. It starts peeling back the layers of illusion they wrap themselves in. It shows them that love is not a resource you can drain without consequences. That support is not a ladder to climb on and then kick down. In some cases, they start losing respect, too. The people who once looked up to them start looking away. The admiration fades. The energy around them grows cold. And it's not dramatic. It's quiet, like winter creeping into spring. They're left wondering, why is everything changing? But the truth is, it's not everything. It's just that the things they misused are now returning to the ones who honored them. And they're left with echoes, with shadows, with lessons they refuse to learn the easy way. And still, they might not admit it. They'll pretend, put on a show, act like they're better off. But when they lay in bed at night, they feel the emptiness crawling up their chest. They feel the weight of every call they ignored, every heart they bruised, every gift they wasted, and there's no hiding from it. Because karma has no off switch. It doesn't punish, it presents reality. And reality hurts when it's filled with things you can never get back. You'll see them try to fill the void with noise, with attention, with surface level validation, but it won't work. Because you can't replace real with temporary. You can't cover a soul wound with applause. The pain finds a way to bleed through the mask, and eventually they'll come face to face with the mirror they've spent years avoiding. One that reflects every good thing they walked away from and every reason why it's no longer in reach. And maybe, just maybe, one day they'll realize you can't treat people like they're disposable and expect your life to remain whole. You can't reject the light and not expect darkness to follow. And you can't break hearts with cold hands and think your own heart will stay warm forever. Karma doesn't scream. Karma doesn't chase. Karma waits. And when it moves quietly, slowly, but powerfully. It begins by removing what they never thought they'd lose. The people, the peace, the joy, not out of vengeance, but to remind them of value. So if you're ever tempted to believe they got away with what they did to you, remember this. People don't always lose loudly. Sometimes they lose privately, silently, behind closed doors, behind fake smiles and filtered posts. And what they lose isn't always visible, but it's always valuable. Because karma doesn't take what they brag about. Karma takes what they prayed for and forgot to protect. And when that happens, they learn a lesson that echoes forever. Never take what's sacred for granted. Number 3, their reputation quietly falls apart. You know, the world has a way of uncovering the truth, even when someone tries to hide it. It doesn't happen all at once. No, karma is much smarter than that. It moves slow. It waits for the mask to slip, for the curtain to fall. And when it does, the image they tried so hard to protect starts to crack, not with noise, not with scandal, but with whispers, with quiet shifts in how people look at them. Respect turns into doubt. Admiration fades into suspicion. And their reputation, the thing they were most proud of, begins to crumble like a house built on lies. It's not always explosive. They don't always get exposed on a stage with spotlights. Sometimes their downfall begins in silence. Someone pulls back their energy. A door that used to be open gets quietly closed. Invitations stop coming. People start observing more than trusting. And that's when they feel it, not in their name, but in their spirit. Because when your reputation begins to fall apart, you start losing something even more painful than attention. You lose credibility. And once that's gone, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. They might try to keep up appearances, post the same smiling pictures, say the right things, perform kindness like a script, but people aren't blind forever. Eventually, truth shines through even the darkest filters. And the people they deceived, they start comparing words with actions, and the math doesn't add up. There's a gap between who they pretend to be and who they truly are. And in that gap, karma begins its quiet work. It starts with hesitation, then mistrust, then avoidance, not loud, but lasting. And here's the thing about a falling reputation. It rarely comes from enemies. It starts with the people who once believed in them, the people who rooted for them, who defended them. When those people begin to see the truth, when they start to feel used, lied to, manipulated, that's when the real damage happens. Because there's no betrayal louder than the silence of someone who once trusted you. And when that silence spreads, reputations don't just bend, they break. One day, they're praised. The next, they're questioned. Not because someone tried to ruin them, but because karma let the truth come to light. That coworker they disrespected, now sharing the story they once kept quiet. That friend they gossip about behind closed doors, now walking away without explanation. That partner they cheated on emotionally or physically, now healing out loud. Karma doesn't ruin them, it lets their own choices be the evidence. And the world begins to notice, slowly but surely, People start to remember the red flags they once ignored. They replay conversations that didn't sit right. They revisit the inconsistencies, and suddenly, the persona that once inspired envy now inspires caution. And this shift isn't loud, it's subtle. They're not canceled, they're just no longer trusted. And in a world built on connections, when trust dies, opportunity dies with it. Relationships shrink, support fades, doors close, not because of enemies, but because the truth finally caught up. They'll wonder what happened, why things aren't working like they used to, why their words don't carry the same weight, why people smile but don't open up. And the answer? It's not in what others did, it's in what they did. Because when someone builds a reputation on charm but not on character, the fall is inevitable. People eventually see through the glitter, and when they do, it's not hatred they give, it's distance. And that distance becomes the loudest judgment of all. And sometimes they try to spin the story, play the victim, claim people turned on them for no reason, but karma doesn't lie. And you can only manipulate the narrative for so long before reality speaks. And reality doesn't need drama to make its point. It just needs time. Because given enough time, even the strongest image cracks under the weight of truth. And what's revealed is a person who was more invested in appearing good than being good. They'll start hearing things they didn't expect. I used to admire them, but something feels off. They're different now. I don't know if I can trust them anymore. That's the sound of a reputation falling apart. Not with sirens, but with soft confessions. One person at a time, one doubt at a time, until the image they built is nothing more than a shadow of who they pretended to be. And that's karma. Not as punishment, but as exposure. Even the people who once feared them no longer care. They no longer hold influence in the rooms they once dominated. Their voice becomes background noise. Their leadership feels performative. Because when your actions don't align with your values, people may not say it out loud, but they feel it. And energy doesn't lie. Karma works through energy. It subtracts loyalty where there's arrogance. It removes favor where there's manipulation. And soon, the power they once held disappears. And let me tell you something powerful. When karma is at work, it doesn't just touch public life, it touches internal life. Even if they still receive applause on the outside, they feel the hollowness growing on the inside. They know deep down that the foundation is weak, that people no longer believe the way they once did. And that awareness eats at them. Because the worst kind of judgment is the one you see in people's eyes. When they don't say a word, that silent disapproval, that's karma's fingerprint. Eventually, they stop getting the benefit of the doubt. Their past support becomes neutral, then cold. And before long, they find themselves alone. Not because people turned on them, but because they turned away. Away from deception, away from inconsistency, away from charm without integrity. And they realize a reputation built on image instead of truth always collapses. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually every false crown falls. Now they walk in rooms where they used to be celebrated and feel invisible. People greet them, but it's polite now, not warm. They're no longer the one people look to for guidance or leadership. Their voice is still heard, but not held. And what they once valued, being known, being admired, slips out of reach. That's what karma does. It doesn't snatch everything at once. It lets you feel the weight of slow disconnection until you're left wondering, when did I stop mattering? And the answer is always the same. The moment you chose appearance over authenticity. The moment you mistreated people who lifted you. The moment you lied when truth could have freed you. Karma waits for those moments. Then it reveals them. Not with scandal, but with subtlety. And when it happens, you'll see it in their eyes, that lost look, that unspoken regret, because reputation isn't what people say about you, it's what they feel about you. And when trust is gone, everything else follows. Number 4, they struggle with inner restlessness and guilt. You can silence the world, but you can't silence your soul. You can pretend to smile in front of others, but when the lights go off and the room grows quiet, there's no pretending left. That's when it starts. The restlessness, the tossing and turning, that sinking feeling in your chest. You see, karma doesn't always show up as storms outside. Sometimes it's the storm within. And when someone has hurt others, manipulated love, broken trust, or lied to keep control, it all echoes back in the form of guilt. And that guilt doesn't scream, it whispers. It follows them into every empty room they walk into. They begin to feel like something is missing, but they can't name it. Peace used to come easily, but now it slips through their fingers. They try to distract themselves, new people, new places, new projects, but nothing sticks because the issue isn't external, it's internal. It's that buried truth their soul won't let them forget. And guilt, it's not just a feeling, it's a mirror. A reflection of all the harm done, even when no one else sees it. The world may still clap for them, but inside they're unraveling. And every time they sit still long enough, the guilt creeps back in like a ghost. They'll start to avoid silence. They'll need constant noise just to feel okay. Music blasting, TV always on, mindless scrolling, endless distractions. Because if they stop, even for a moment, the quiet becomes deafening. And in that quiet, the truth comes up. They remember the faces of the people they disappointed, the ones they used, the people they pushed away just to feel powerful. Guilt doesn't need to yell. It just waits. And the more they run from it, the heavier it gets, until it wraps around them like a weight on their chest. And here's the real tragedy. They know. Deep down, they know they cause pain. But pride won't let them admit it. Ego won't let them apologize, so they walk around carrying a smile on their face and a war inside their heart. They become strangers to themselves. The person they once were, that innocent version of them, is long gone, and they miss that version. But the damage has been done, and guilt has moved in, making a home inside their mind. They'll try to justify it. They deserved it. It wasn't that bad. They're too sensitive. But no excuse calms the soul. No reasoning silences the conscience, because the human spirit was designed to live in truth. And when you go against that truth, your soul knows, your spirit rejects the lies you try to tell yourself. And every time they deny it, every time they shift blame, their inner peace crumbles further. That's karma, pressing in, not from the outside, but from within. And this is a punishment. This is awakening. This is life trying to teach them something. What you do to others will echo in your own life. The guilt they feel isn't random. It's the echo, the reverberation of choices made in the dark. And those echoes start to interrupt their peace. Good moments don't feel good anymore. Achievements feel empty. Compliments feel like lies. Because no matter how high they climb, they know the foundation was built on broken promises and false intent. Sometimes they'll feel angry but not know why, anxious but can't explain it, tired even after rest. That's not burnout, it's internal conflict. The soul doesn't rest when it's burdened with guilt. That spiritual unrest shows up in their body, in their mood, in their relationships. They might lash out, isolate themselves, become reactive over small things. But it's not about the outside world. It's about the inside world falling apart. Karma isn't always fire. Sometimes it's a slow erosion of joy. They may try to seek help, therapy, meditation, religion, and those can help, but only if they're honest. Only if they stop pretending to be the victim. Only if they face what they've done and who they've become. Because healing doesn't happen in denial. Healing begins with ownership. But if they're still hiding behind pride, then even therapy becomes another mask, and guilt stays right there beneath every forced breakthrough, waiting for them to stop performing and start confessing. There are nights they cry and don't know why. Mornings they wake up feeling heavy. Moments of joy that feel fake. That's the soul calling for repair. But repair doesn't come through new people, new jobs, new clothes. It comes through reconciliation with self, with truth, and with the people they wronged. But karma is patient. It will keep knocking, keep pressing, keep whispering until they finally answer, or until the guilt becomes too loud to ignore. People might say they look fine, they seem happy, but appearances mean nothing when the heart is screaming. That's what makes this kind of karma so effective. It's invisible to everyone else, but suffocating to the one living with it. And sometimes that's the worst kind. The fall that happens privately, the guilt that lives in the silence between conversations, that shadow that follows them even when they smile. Because they know the truth, and they can't escape the truth that lives in them. They become sensitive in strange ways, defensive, overly proud, easily offended. That's not confidence. That's insecurity in disguise. The more guilt they carry, the more they need to overcompensate. And the more they overcompensate, the more they betray themselves. It becomes a cycle, a loop. And unless they stop, reflect, and own it, that guilt becomes permanent. It becomes their identity. Not because it has to, but because they refuse to let it transform them. You see, guilt isn't meant to destroy. It's meant to redirect. But only if they're humble enough to listen. Only if they stop running from the pain and turn to face it. But as long as they blame others, deny accountability, or suppress truth, guilt will keep festering and karma will keep tightening its grip, not to punish them, but to remind them, you cannot heal what you refuse to feel. And that unrest, it's the alarm clock for the soul. The people they hurt may have moved on. They may have healed. But karma isn't about revenge. It's about restoration of balance. And if they broke the balance through their choices, the universe will keep sending that signal until they realign, until they learn, until they make peace, not just with others, but with the truth inside them. And peace only comes when guilt is no longer the driver, when truth sits in the front seat and shame is left behind. So they walk through life, successful on the surface, but haunted in the heart. Surrounded by people, but still alone. Achieving things, but feeling like nothing. That's karma. Not to destroy them, but to awaken them. Because the worst prison isn't made of bars, it's made of guilt. And until they choose to make it right, they'll remain locked in that cell, carrying the weight of what they won't admit. And the key to freedom is truth. It's always been truth. Number 5, they keep facing the same pain they caused others. There's a powerful law in this life. It's simple, it's silent, and it's unshakable. You will reap what you sow. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one way or another, the pain you plant in someone else's life will find its way back to your doorstep. And it won't knock. It'll walk right in. Because karma isn't random. It's precise. You can't hurt people, walk away, and expect the universe to forget. Life has a way of showing people what it feels like to stand where they left others bleeding. At first, they don't see it. They think they've won. They think silence means escape. But karma doesn't operate on their timeline. It waits, it watches, and then it delivers. Quietly, poetically, not as punishment, but as a mirror. And that mirror, it doesn't reflect their face, it reflects their actions. Suddenly, they find themselves in situations that look eerily familiar. Someone lies to them, someone breaks their heart, someone betrays their trust, and they feel it. Deep, sharp, raw, and they wonder, why is this happening to me? But if they look back far enough, they'd recognize the same footprints, their own. It's one of the most divine lessons life teaches, empathy through experience. Sometimes the only way to understand the pain you cause is to feel it yourself. Not to destroy you, but to transform you. And when they start to experience the same kind of heartbreak they handed out so easily, it stings differently. Because it's not abstract anymore. It's not someone else's story. It's their own. They finally understand why the person they hurt cried themselves to sleep, why they stopped answering, why they had to walk away. And this isn't about revenge. No. The universe doesn't work through revenge. It works through restoration, through alignment. What they gave out, they're now receiving. They told someone they weren't enough, now they're being made to feel unworthy. They played games with someone's heart, now they're stuck in confusion with someone who won't commit. They use silence to punish someone, now they're being ignored when they need love the most. And every time it happens, a part of them remembers what they did and can't undo. It's in those moments they realize this is what they did to someone else. They made someone feel disposable, and now they're the one being left on read. They withheld affection, made someone beg for attention or question their worth, and now they're sitting in that same seat, heart pounding, refreshing the screen, hoping for a message that doesn't come. That's not coincidence. That's karmic clarity. That's life teaching them in the language they once used to hurt others. The pain doesn't just come from the betrayal, it comes from the realization, this is how I made someone else feel. And that realization, it's a heavy one. It's humbling. It breaks the arrogance. It cracks the mask. Because now they can't deny the impact of their actions. They're not just feeling pain, they're tasting their own medicine. And when the dose hits, it brings more than sadness. It brings accountability. It brings truth. Sometimes they'll say, why do I always attract the wrong people? But the truth is, you attract what you haven't healed. And if they haven't made peace with the way they treated others, life will keep sending reminders. People who show them what it means to be disrespected, devalued, disregarded, just like they once did to someone else. It's not a curse. It's a classroom. Karma isn't punishing them. It's trying to make them see, to wake up, to stop repeating cycles of harm. But here's the hardest part. They can't complain about what they're receiving when they once dished it out without remorse. They can't cry about being ghosted when they vanished on someone who loved them. They can't be broken over someone's silence when their silence once screamed louder than any word could. That's karma's way. It doesn't just level the field. It teaches you how it feels to stand in the fire you started. And that fire burns differently when you're on the other side. And maybe the worst part isn't the pain itself. Maybe it's realizing the people they hurt probably suffered in silence, probably loved them anyway, probably gave grace, offered forgiveness, held space. And they didn't appreciate it. They took it as weakness. They use it as leverage. And now they're longing for that kind of love, the love they abused. And they can't find it. Because karma doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you need to grow. So they keep facing versions of themselves. They meet people who play with them, belittle them, lead them on. And every time it digs a little deeper because they recognize the pattern. They've seen it before in their own reflection, and now it haunts them. Not to destroy them, but to break the illusion. To help them see that healing doesn't come by ignoring the past. It comes by owning it, by making peace with it, by doing better moving forward. They'll try to numb it, deny it, blame others, but pain has a way of staying present until you learn its purpose. And karma? Karma has all the time in the world. If you don't learn the lesson, it comes back around. Different face, same pain. Over and over. Until the person finally stops pointing fingers and starts looking in the mirror. The moment they do that, karma stops being a punishment and starts becoming a teacher. They might even cry one day, not because someone broke them, but because they finally get it. They finally understand what they did. And that's a powerful moment. Pain becomes purpose. Guilt becomes growth. They stop running. They start healing. They write that apology. They make amends. And in doing so, they start to break the cycle. That's how transformation happens, not by avoiding karma, but by walking through it with humility. Life will never stop giving them back the energy they put out. But once they begin to shift, once they start loving instead of using, helping instead of hurting, giving instead of taking, then the cycle breaks. Then peace returns. And the pain that once tormented them becomes the foundation of their wisdom. Karma will keep echoing through their life until they learn what it came to teach. That every action is a seed and every seed grows. So when they face the same pain they caused others, it's not the universe being cruel, it's the universe being fair. It's the divine rebalancing of what was broken. It's life saying, feel this so you never cause it again. And once they feel it deep enough, truthfully enough, they'll change. Not because they have to, but because they finally understand what love truly means. Not control, not manipulation, but empathy, respect, and accountability. Sometimes the loudest lessons come in the quietest moments. Karma doesn't arrive with sirens or fireworks. It creeps in gently, whispering truth to the soul, not to shame us, but to shape us. It doesn't rush. It waits. It doesn't scream, it reveals. And when it shows up in someone's life, it doesn't need applause or an audience. It does its work in silence, one consequence at a time, one reflection at a time. We often wonder if people ever truly face the consequences of their wrongs. We look at those who hurt us, those who betrayed, abandoned, lied, or used us, and we ask, will they ever feel the weight of what they did? But life has a way of answering that question without our interference. Because what's done in the dark always echoes in the light. Not always immediately, but eventually. Pain caused will always circle back in some form, wrapped in lessons, disguised as irony, heavy with meaning. Some people wake up one day and realize their life hasn't moved in years. Everything is stuck, stagnant, and hollow. They can't seem to push forward no matter how hard they try. And they won't admit it out loud, but deep down they know why. The choices they made, the people they broke, the hearts they played with, it all matters. Energy doesn't lie. And when you put out pain, Life makes sure you experience it in return. That's not revenge. That's just. Others begin to lose what they thought they'd always have, the relationships, the opportunities, the support. They vanish. And it feels unfair, sudden, confusing, but it's not random. It's what happens when you take people and blessings for granted. You can't keep stepping on the very things that carry you and expect them to hold your weight forever. Life eventually teaches that truth with precision. Then comes the downfall of the image. The mask starts to slip. The charm no longer convinces. People begin to whisper. Trust erodes, respect fades, and the person who once walked so confidently through rooms starts to feel exposed, even when no one says a word. That's karma doing what it does best, unraveling false narratives and letting truth breathe. And perhaps the most piercing karma is the one that plays out in the soul. Restlessness, guilt, sleepless nights, a heart heavy with unspoken apologies, a mind haunted by memories of people they wronged. They might smile in public, but peace escapes them when the lights go off. That's life nudging them to look within, not to punish, but to heal. Because until they face what they've done, they will never feel whole. But the deepest cut of all is when they begin to live through the same pain they once caused. When the tables turn, when the betrayal they handed out lands back in their lap, when someone lies to them, cheats on them, forgets them. It's not just a coincidence, it's life holding up a mirror. Now do you understand? The universe asks, and slowly they do. Slowly the pieces come together, and this is where redemption can begin. Because karma at its core isn't about destroying people, it's about restoring balance. It doesn't chase after us with rage, it calls us back to responsibility, to compassion, to humility. It gives us the chance to break cycles, to make peace with the damage done, and to walk a different path moving forward. That's the real gift inside the storm. Growth, awakening, a second chance. When someone finally sees the pain they caused reflected in their own life, they get to choose differently. They get to apologize, to change, to love better, to treat people with the respect they once withheld. And when they do, they stop the cycle. The pain no longer needs to be passed on. It ends with them. So if you've been wondering whether they're facing the consequences of their actions, trust that they are. Life has its own justice system, and it never misses. But don't let your heart grow bitter. Don't root for their destruction. Root for their healing. Root for their awakening. Because in the end, karma isn't about you watching them fall. It's about them learning how to rise the right way, through honesty, through pain, through accountability. And if you've been the one receiving your own karma, don't run from it. Sit with it. Listen to it. Let it change you. Let it guide you back to your truest self. The version of you that loves deeply, walks humbly, and treats people with honor. That's the version karma wants you to return to. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up for your growth. Thank you for choosing the path of awareness instead of vengeance. Keep walking forward, keep choosing truth, and keep believing in the power of transformation. You are not alone on this journey. God bless you. May peace fill your heart, and may healing follow you wherever you go. Stay strong, stay kind, and stay real. God bless.